is a teaching and learning coordinator at CAMI. Before CAMI, Avra served as the Director of Online Learning and an instructor for EdTech teacher. She also served as adjunct faculty where she worked with pre-service teachers. A certified Google trainer and dedicated educational technologist, Avra has been working with teachers and students for 29 years. Prior to her work with CAMI and EdTech teacher, Avra was first a classroom teacher and later the instructional technology coordinator and coach for a school district in Northern Illinois. Avra has presented at local and regional conferences, sharing ideas she's passionate about, including universal design for learning, digital storytelling, student creation with technology, differentiation and accessibility with technology, coaching teachers, and more. Welcome, Avra. And I'm Linda, your webinar facilitator. I'll be behind the scenes, making sure that everything runs smoothly, as well as interacting with you in the chat. So let's get started.
All right. That was an awesome intro, Linda. Thank you so much. Hey there, everyone. Welcome. As the kind introduction said, my name is Avra, and I am super excited to be here with you this afternoon. I love doing things in Illinois. That's where I'm from. It's where I've taught my whole life. And so this afternoon, we are going to chat about CAMI. So to begin with, we are going to start by getting a little hands-on. Now, this is not required by any means, okay? This is just for participants who want to participate. But what I would encourage you to do is to, if you are sitting at a computer, go ahead and open up a new browser window and put this shortened URL into a new tab. So you don't need HTTP or www. You can simply start with Meet CAMI, so meetkami.com, and then / and today's date. So 11/18/25. And what this is going to do, friends, is this will open up a CAMI page. So if you've never used CAMI before, this could be a little bit tricky. It might ask you to sign in. And if it's something that becomes a frustration, please don't worry about it, okay? I will be sharing all of this with Linda. She can, I'm sure, send it out to anyone that has questions afterwards. What I'm linking you to is a resource page and a jumping off place for those of you that want to participate, that want to kind of get hands-on with us. We're going to spend a little bit of time at the beginning of this webinar with some collaboration, with some, kind of fun hands-on stuff. But the rest of it will just be a kind of sit back and relax demo. So I want you to feel free to do as much or as little as makes sense for you. Okay? So I'm just going to leave this up on the screen for maybe another minute or so. I see that Linda has put it in the chat as well, so that's perfect. Just to kind of give you a sense of what you're trying to get to, it's a kind of a purple page. It'll have the name of the webinar at the top. It'll say the date, things like that, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take this down for just a second and just show you kind of where you're trying to get to. Again, this is not anything that you have to do. It's absolutely just optional, okay? So I'll put this up for just maybe another 30 seconds or so. So for those of you that maybe didn't hear me say this already, if you've just come in, you can head to a new browser tab if you're on a computer. Type in meetcami.com / 11/18/25. Or you can just sit back and relax and watch, because everything that we do, I'm going to kind of show on my screen. Just so you all know, I don't present with slides, okay? Not in this environment anyway. I like to do everything hands-on in CAMI, so you really get a sense of what CAMI looks like. So it'll be, it'll be pretty interactive at first, and then it'll be a demo. Okay. All right. I am going to go ahead and take that down and come on over to this document here. So friends, this is a document that is loaded into CAMI. Okay. And I can see that a handful of you are in here. The way that I can tell that some of you are in this document is if you'll notice, if you follow my mouse up to kind of the top right, you'll see this set of circles. If you've used Google Docs or Google Slides in the past, these are probably similar to what you're used to. These are collaborator icons, meaning it shows who's in the document, okay? In CAMI, when you click here, all right, like I'm doing right now, if you'll notice, there is a panel on the right-hand side of the page. And this is turned on and off by this little thing right here. It's like a toggle switch, okay? So I'm clicking, opening it, closing it, all right? So you can see that I'm in here as my Ms. Robinson account, and we've got Jennifer and Christy and Kyle and Linda and Trisha. So welcome for everyone that's here, and welcome to those of you that jumped into the document. That's awesome, okay? You guys, this is a resource page for you, okay? So today's webinar is really about the free tools in Kami. If there are those of you that are here from a school district that has a Kami license and you have specific questions at the end, I'm happy to answer them. But the way that we kind of designed this session was to be, just for everyone, for those people that have Kami and those who just have the free version. Because either way, you're lucky and it's a great program, okay? What you'll notice here, guys, is I have a list of all the different free tools, and I'm going to talk about them today. But then on the right-hand side over here, we've got links to different options. So if you want to install the Kami extension, you can click here, okay? If you want to install the extension for Microsoft Edge, you can do that there. There are a couple of videos here that showcase some of the options and features that I'm going to show today. And then there's additional links down here. Guys, there's also, beyond all of these resources, there's a human resource for you at the bottom, and that's me, okay? I live here in Illinois. I've been teaching here since 1996, and I am kind of the Kami representative for Illinois. And so I'm also backed up by a team of about 10 or 11 other teaching and learning coordinators, and we're always here to help. So if you've ever got questions, you can shoot me an email, okay? So listen, what we're going to start with is a collaborative activity, because collaboration in Kami is one of the things that you can do. But before I have you click that, let me just mention one more thing, and that is this document, friends, was mine. I didn't make it in Kami. I actually designed it in Google Slides, okay? And then I brought it over into Kami. So one of the misconceptions about Kami is that it's just a PDF annotation tool. And while it's true that it is a PDF annotation tool, it's more than that, because you can bring in a slideshow. You can bring in a Google Doc, a Word doc, a PowerPoint. You can even take a picture of something with your phone and bring it into Kami. And I'll show you how, okay? The cool thing to know is that it's going to take any one of those items and it's going to convert it into a PDF for you. And what's nice about that is that it flattens everything so that way you don't end up with things being moved around like they can be in slides, okay? So when I designed this in slides, these were all text boxes, and now everything's just kind of flat on the page, all right? So just be aware that any file you have can be brought into Kami, and you can, mark on top of it and do all the cool things that we'll talk about today. But let's have a little fun first, okay? So for those of you that are in here, look for the words collaborative activity up in the dark purple at the top, and click on it for me, okay? And when you're there, you're going to see kind of a little slideshow. It's just about 4 pages long, okay? And it says, it's got the little Kami dog who's all dressed up and ready for Thanksgiving, saying, what are you grateful for this year? So I want you to share as much or as little as you feel comfortable, okay? And what you can look for is on the left-hand side of the document, you will see a set of tools. And one of them is a text box. So you can grab it, okay? And you can click on the page then, after you've clicked on the word text box, and then you can type, okay? So I am going to type Hadley, Cade, Allie, Sam, and Cameron. So these are my kids, my son-in-law, and my 2 grandchildren. I would love to know what you're grateful for. Okay, so once you have kind of thought about what you might be grateful for, head over to the left-hand side and click on text box and make yourself a text box, and then go ahead and share what you're grateful for. All right. All right. I am going to just kind of hang out and watch as people tell us what they are grateful for. Okay. my new sound bath bowl. Kyle, we're going to have to talk about this because I have no idea what that is. So you and I will have to powwow afterwards. Friends, Kyle is one of my colleagues from Cami who agreed to come along with me today and just kind of be here as support. So we're going to have a conversation. You guys, as I'm wondering who wrote something, what I'm doing is I'm putting my mouse on top of a text box. Okay. And when I do that, what I will see is a set of initials, a circle with initials in them inside of like this little black box. Okay. So I can see that Kyle was the one that wrote sound bath bowl. And then Linda says, hey, that sounds cool, right? That's awesome. So Linda also shared, I'm really grateful for the amazing educators that the LTC works with, which I love. I love it, love it. And I think this is probably Trisha. Yep, Trisha wrote my family. Awesome. And let's see, Jennifer wrote my family and friends. I love it. You guys, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for being willing to just kind of play along. My family and a week off for Thanksgiving. Okay. I wish I had a week off for Thanksgiving. I am definitely jealous. That's amazing. So all of next week. So basically, Trisha, are you telling me that when you get to Friday, you don't have to go back until the following Monday? Because that's like 9 days. That's amazing. Yay. And then books. Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I have a whole TBR. I had to have my husband hang special shelves for me in my office and my bedroom that are all my to be read books because I just keep buying them and then not reading them, but then keep going and buying more. So yeah, it's a sickness. All right, you guys, this is awesome. And Trisha, thank you for putting yes on there. That's so cool. So listen, friends, I want to show you something else that we can do in this environment. All right. You all have the text box tool, and that's fantastic. The text box tool, when you click on it, has a little sub menu, okay, that you'll see. It has font size and color, but there's an additional formatting toolbar at the top, okay? And if you click on your text box, or yeah, you pretty much need to have that selected, you will notice this white bar across the top. What I would love for you to do right now is to play with the formatting for just a minute, okay? And for those of you that might be in the session but are kind of just sitting back and relaxing and watching, I'll show you what I'm encouraging people to do. I'm encouraging people to play with the different fonts. Guys, there are so many different fonts, not nearly as many as maybe, some Google products, but you guys, there's a ton here, including some that are meant for our students that struggle. So my son, who struggles with dyslexia, oftentimes changes things over to Open Dyslexic or to Lexend, because both of those are really nice sans serif fonts that allow students that have some of those visual disabilities to thrive. Okay. So play with that. Maybe also, guys, play with the background color of your text box, because right now it's clear, but you can have a background color. And it's important to know how to change the background color, because if you want to cover something up on a white page, so say you bring a PDF in and it's got a white background and you want to change the title of something, you're going to want to know how to make the background color of your text box to be white, right? So that's one of those really important things as well. So now, I didn't even pay Linda to do this, but this was actually the next thing I was going to encourage you to do, and that is to add a comment. So friends, if you agree with someone or you want to, give someone some feedback, like when I was talking to Trisha about her week-long vacation, I could have gone over on the left-hand side to the comment tool, clicked, and then I can click onto her, like I can put a dot basically. And guys, this dot can be all different colors. Okay, so I'll put a little pink dot on there. And then look, it gives me, and I'm Cami student free right now, okay? And I could say, wow, I think that is so cool, okay? And so if I were to take this dot now and put it over here, you'll notice that my comment will move through the document, okay? So if you've ever put a comment in like a Google Doc or a Word doc, this is similar, except you don't have to highlight text. You can just put a dot wherever you want, okay? So feel free to play for a second with the with the comments, okay, and play with the formatting that you see. And I love what you guys are sharing. Awesome. A week off is always amazing, Christy. I totally agree. Yeah, Jennifer, I need that week to recoup. So I guess I'm going to have to wait probably till December, but that's awesome. Kyle, okay, I do meditate. I'm a big fan of the Calm app. So we are definitely going to have to talk about this bowl. That's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much, all of you, for participating. Listen, if those of you that are in here hanging out with me, if you're starting to feel a little overwhelmed, feel free to scroll on down. Okay. We've got another page. I wasn't sure how many folks might join us today, so I did leave 2 pages for people to be able to interact. And then we've got 2 blank pages down below. So what I would really love would be for you to just play, just press buttons. And for those that are kind of sitting back and watching, what I'm going to do is kind of go through some of the tools that are here. Okay. One of the things I want to mention, and I'm going to guess that probably Linda did this. Yeah. So if you notice, guys, there's a kind of a little highlight right here. Okay. We have a markup tool, and this is a fantastic tool for when we're having students annotate text, right? But what's cool about it is that there's a bunch of different highlighters. One is the text highlighter, and the text highlighter is nice and neat. So if I wanted to highlight a whole section of text on like a paragraph on a PDF, I could do that. But then the next one down is the freehand highlighter. And the freehand highlighter, honestly, just serves like a marker. Okay. So I'm down here on page 3 right now. I'm just kind of scribbling. Okay. That's just one of the highlighters. And then there's a box highlighter, which is equally cool. It literally makes a box, but it's a transparent box, just like a highlighter would be. So for those of us that are like I am with not a lot of fine motor, I really do like the box highlighter, and I really do like the text highlighter because it'll highlight things nice and neatly. But it's also nice to just have a freehand highlighter, and that way I can do things like, circle something on a page. Okay. So these can be fantastic tools for students as they are kind of going through maybe a section of text, if they've got a reading passage, or even a reading passage with a set of questions, if they want to highlight certain areas of the questions in order to be able to remember what they need to be recalling and things like that. I've also seen teachers encourage students to use these comments in the margin as a way to leave themselves a note. It's kind of like leaving yourself a little sticky note, right? So maybe if you get to a point, in a reading where you want to remember something and it's something that you're pretty sure you might forget, you could say, go back to this section and take a peek later, when you study for the quiz. Love, me. So I've seen students do this where they kind of leave themselves reminders, especially throughout a longer document. That can be a really powerful way to do that as well. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the other things that folks are playing with right now. Okay. So just so you know, I always go back to the select tool, friends, up here at the top left. Okay. That's my mouse. And that's how then I can easily put my mouse on top of different things and be able to see who's done what. Okay. And so I can see that Linda is here drawing this snowman. Okay. And then down here, we have a snowman that Christy has drawn. I am always amazed when people are able to draw digitally. I can't even draw physically, like in real life. So when you can do this, that's really, really cool. I was talking about this button here, okay? And I was saying, hey, look, when I click this, just like I mentioned earlier, this panel appears. And these are all the people who have been in the document. The difference between Linda and Kyle are that Linda is online still, like she's in this document currently, but Kyle closed out, and so did the Ms. Robinson account, okay? You can tell this by the little green dot, by Linda's or Trisha's name, and the word online. So this is your way of being able to see at least have your kids accessed the assignment or the activity, right? And are they currently in the document or not? All right. This is also, guys, a way to be able to hide or mute people's annotations. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me tell you this, and this is something I actually meant to have you explore. So if for those of you that are still in the document, if you want, try to click on someone else's text box and try to move it around. Tell me what happens if you want. If you want to interact in the chat, or you could type on the screen, what happens if you click on Linda's text box or Kyle's text box and you try to move it, or you try to double click and change their font or change what they've written in some way? Are you able to change or edit anyone else's annotation? And an annotation might be a drawing, it might be a shape, it might be a text box, it might be a comment. Any of these are considered annotations. What is your experience when you try to move someone else's stuff around? I was just kind of giving you a little think time there. I'm not sure why digital think time feels like twice the length of regular wait time, but it does. But I've gotten really good at like awkward digital wait time. Are you able to change anyone else's annotation or move it, edit it in any way? Thanks, Linda. It just highlights you can't do anything. So that was by design, guys, because other programs, and like no shade, because Google products are fantastic, right? But Google Collaboration, if you've ever put a group of kids together in a Google Doc or in a Google slideshow, or back in the day when Jamboard was still around, if you've ever done that, you know that that's a very open-ended collaborative environment, all right? And it can be frustrating for teachers and for other kids when a student starts messing with somebody else's stuff, okay? So you can't do that in here. However, kids can, do something pesky, like they could grab the drawing tool and they could draw all over the page, okay? I could do that up here, watch, on top of everybody's stuff and kind of make a mess, right? But check this out. Every student and the teacher can go up and click this button to open the collaborator icons over here, the panel, okay? And then look, all you have to do is click on a collaborator's name. I clicked on Cami Student Free, which is this account that I'm in right now. And look, the pink scribbles here, the pink scribbles down here, all the stuff I wrote with the kids' names and everything, it's all gone. Okay. Now, we didn't delete my work at all. It's still there. It's just muted. Okay. So just be aware of that as well. Also, the owner of the document, so probably the teacher most of the time, can delete student work. Okay. So if need be, you could delete someone's work. You can also, guys, you yourself can put your mouse on top of anything that you've done, and you'll get this little bar, and you can delete it as well if you want to. Okay. It's eluding me right now, so I won't worry about it, but I wanted to show you that. The other thing I wanted to show you is that right here, there's a file menu, guys. Do you see where I'm at? Let me go to where there's more white space so it's easier for you to see. Right up here, this little document icon is the file menu, okay? And if you click this, you'll be able to see something that says annotation summary. Now listen, friends, I want you to watch the left-hand side of my screen. When I click this annotation summary, look what I get, okay? So over here, this actually gives you even a little bit more information to be able to see what students have done, right? So Liz Andy, I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. In here, we can see the name of the person. We can see what tool they used, what page they were on, and how many minutes ago, okay? So in here, we can see people's comments, okay? We can see that they use the text box, all of that. So you can keep a pulse on what your students have done, okay? So that's a great option as well. Guys, this file menu and the word annotation summary is also a toggle switch. So it's a click and it closes, and we can open it back up with another click, okay? So that is all collaboration in Cami, all right? And so I'm really excited for you to just kind of know that this could be anything. Friends, this was a, hey, what are you grateful for, right? But what kind of things, I want you to think for a second, might you do in your classroom with your students? Why might you want to collaborate? Why might you want them to share their ideas? In what environment? I've seen students make predictions about what's going to happen next in a story, right? I've seen students brainstorm together in this environment. This could be any worksheet as well. It could be any activity. Or it could be like what we're looking at right now. It could just be a blank white page. It could be like a whiteboarding tool. That'll be one of the first things that I'm going to show you today, is that a lot of teachers use Kami as a whiteboarding tool. Okay. And Jennifer, I agree with you. I love that that we can see what the kids are doing, because, obviously that helps us keep a pulse on, what they're doing and help them be successful. All right. So listen, friends, what I'm going to do is kind of transition us away from this collaborative space, and I'm just going to kind of start showing you some stuff. But I am keeping an eye on the chat, and I know, Linda, you are too. But I appreciate what you guys are saying. Lizandy, I actually just taught a class the other night where I was working with math teachers, and what we did is we designed a set of slides in Google Slides where there was the same math problem over and over again, and then we gave each participant a slide, and they kind of claimed it, put their name on it, and then they solved the math problem on there in order to, show different strategies. So I've seen collaborative math. I've also seen, and I used to do this in my classroom, collaborative vocabulary. So if you've got a new group of vocabulary words in whatever class, right? We can have vocabulary in science and social studies, history, math, even all of it, right? Health, business. You can, instead of having students have to tackle 20 or 25 new words, have each student tackle one. Okay. And what you can do is set something up. Let me just show you an example. Okay. I'm going to grab my Google Drive really quickly here and do a quick do a quick little search here, and I'll show you my template. So remember I said earlier that you can take any Google Doc, Google Slideshow, PowerPoint if you use Microsoft, Word if you use Microsoft, and you can push it into Kami really easily. So all you have to do is take anything that you've designed somewhere else. So what I used to do is have, a slideshow set up, and it would have, the different vocabulary words and then whatever I want them to do. Okay. And I can click right here on Kami. And when I do that, it's going to push it straight over into Kami. Okay. It's saying to me, hey, you've done this a couple times. So these are all just old versions. I can just go down to the bottom and choose convert to a new file and hit convert. Okay. And then that comes in. And what you do, guys, is you share a Kami doc very similarly to what you do in Google. Okay. There is a purple share button up at the top right of the screen. Okay. So up here, and you can click, and then look, this is Google sharing. Now, there is a whole Microsoft world too, where you can do OneDrive if you're a Microsoft user. I'm just doing Google today because, a lot of folks use Google. But be aware that, it's the same kind of thing that you've seen in these other environments, guys. Anyone with the link can be a viewer, could be an editor, or you can even create an individual copy for students. Okay. So if you want kids to all edit something together, you would want them to be an editor. If you want them to each, just view something, you can do that as well. Okay. So lots of possibilities. I've also seen collaborative study guides where, similar to vocabulary, we take different concepts and allow students to each be in charge of teaching the rest of the class a concept. And then once you as a teacher go through and grade it and assess it and make sure that it all looks good to go, then kids can study other people's explanations of concepts. Okay. All right. So friends, we've kind of gone through the different, options that there are in Kami in terms of the tools. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of move us away from that idea of collaboration and just talk about Kami in general and kind of individual assignments. But before I do that, let me show you the Kami dashboard. Okay. And I'm going to do it over here in my free account. Let me close out of some of these tabs. And I'm going to show you templates in a little bit, and you guys are going to be so excited. What I'm going to do now is head to the Kami Google Chrome extension, okay? If you don't have the extension and you want to use Kami, I highly recommend installing it. It is linked on that purple page for those of you that jumped in there, okay? And what you're going to see here is the ability to bring in your files from different places. So if you're a Google user, here's your Google Drive link, and it'll take you right to Google Drive, where you can go in and grab anything that's stored in there and pull it in. Okay. Same thing with OneDrive, or you can access your computer as well, right? Wherever you have your files saved. You can also go here to just create a blank page. So when you do this, you'll see that there's different parameters in here. Okay. You can have just a blank page, or you can have lined paper. You can have grid paper. Okay. We've even got music sheets in here because we have a lot of music teachers that use Kami. We've got some basic graphic organizers as well. 3-column charts, bubble. Oh, sorry, wrong thing here. Large bubble map, small bubble map. There's all sorts of cool different options in here. Okay. And this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of templates in Kami. I'm going to show you templates in just a little bit. There are so many. Okay. And I'm going to start right now with just a blank page, because what I want to do is talk about the power of whiteboarding. Okay. So if you have an interactive whiteboard, a flat panel of some sort that you can either access a web browser on, because guys, Kami doesn't need an app. Okay. Like even if you're on an iOS device, an iPad or something, you don't need an app. It just works in the browser. Okay. So as long as you can access a browser of some sort, you can whiteboard in Kami. And you can do that by going to that dashboard, like I showed you, by clicking on the Kami extension. It takes you directly to this dashboard. Okay. And going to a blank page. Or friends, you can click on a new tab and type in Kami.new, Kami.new. Okay. And what that'll do is that'll open up a Kami page for you as well. Now, the reason I like starting at the dashboard is because that way I can have a landscape page. So it's going to fit better on my board. But keep in mind, these could be files too. It doesn't just have to be a blank page. Okay. So in here, now you've got the ability to, mark up the page, use a text box, use the drawing tool, be able to solve a math problem with kids and, do all the normal things. Forgive my, my digital handwriting here. It's better with a stylus. Obviously, I'm just using the touchpad on my computer. But guys, look what's happening. I'm drawing on the page, and immediately Kami's coming up and saying, hey, you need to get this saved. Okay. It's a wonderful little reminder. So I'll go ahead and tell it to save to my Google Drive. Now you might wonder, well, where in my Google Drive did that go? It goes to a folder called Kami Uploads. Okay. That's just the default folder. So if you've done something in Kami and you're kind of wondering where it went, it most likely saved to your Google Drive and it went to a folder called Kami Uploads. Okay. So in here, lots of possibilities, right? And you've got an eraser if you need to erase. You've got your text box tool. You've got all the tools that, we talked about when we were collaborating. All right. So lots of possibilities there. Thinking also just that, you could have a comment. So the comment, if you were working through a document with kids, if you were, maybe you put a map up here. You could also add comments to kind of annotate the page. So you could put those little dots on different parts of the drawing or the map or whatever it is in order to give more information. Okay. So guys, what I mean by that is, let me just show you. If I were a science teacher, for example, and I wanted to go to my my computer and bring in, let me find what I'm looking for here. Oh, it's weird that I'm not seeing it. I usually have this really ugly frog dissection activity that is eluding me right now. All right. Well, we will not worry about it right now. But what I've seen, guys, is teachers take science diagrams and put the little dots in different places in order to just add a little bit more information. Because also in that text comment that you all were playing with earlier, you can paste a link in there as well. Okay. So if you wanted to put a URL of some sort, it'd take kids to a website, where they could they could put more information. Okay. So those are all possibilities. Now, what I really want to do is show you something else. Let me hop back over to this browser and show you the Kami library. Okay. So the Kami library can be accessed, and I'm sad to say that my link here is not working, but I will fix this and I will send a new document to Linda so that hopefully we can get that to those of you who came today. But I'll show it to you this way. The Kami library, guys, is amazing, and it has over, okay, Avra has to type it in right though, kamiapp.com/library. Forgive me, a little discombobulated here for a second. The Kami library, why is it eluding me? Goodness gracious. Kami app. Let's try that. There we go. All right. Oh, no. I just want to get back to the normal page. Here we go. Sorry, guys. The Kami library has over 2,200 free resources in here. Okay. And you can search it. You can come over on the side and look for something specific. You can also just pop through, see what the featured templates are. Okay. If you are a teacher of littles, you're going to love this. There are so many fun things. If you are a high school teacher, you will love it as well. Guys, you can filter over here on the left by the subject area that you teach or by the type of activity. Okay. So you could click on graphic organizers. And when you come in here, remember how I said a few minutes ago that when we were looking at all those different types of blank pages in Kami, that that was just the tip of the iceberg, right? Look, we've got these same bubble maps, but we've also got everything from Cornell notes to the 3-column chart, okay, to something more curricularly based. Look, friends, this is a plot organizer, okay? So they've got stuff in here for all different subject areas. All right. And you can download these for free. So you can download them and just print them off. You don't have to use them in Kami. You can if you want. All you have to do is hit open with Kami, right? So if we do this, we could open this up and have kids be able to write right within it. Okay. We can use the comment tool to put comments over on the side. You've got all sorts of options in here. And so it's up to you whether you want kids to do it digitally or whether you want them to do it on paper. Okay. So there's oodles and oodles. Look, this is page 1 of 14 pages of graphic organizers. Okay. Friends, we've also got over here, if you look over here on the left, we've got some interactive stuff. Okay. So what's cool about this is there's fun. Let's look, where's my snowman activity? Let me do a quick little search here for snowman. When you are looking for something fun to do, when it's inside recess, if you are a littles teacher, this is a really fun thing to do. This is a build your own snowman kind of activity. So when kids open this up in Kami, you guys, what they'll be able to do is drag and drop the different elements onto the snowman or onto the snow person. Okay. And what's neat about this, as someone who has taught technology to students, I taught technology when I was the technology coordinator in my district here in Illinois for 14 years. And I will tell you right now, and you probably know this, that our kids need practice with their touchpads, right? Or with a mouse if they've got an external mouse. And this can be a really neat way and a fun way for them to be creative. Okay. They can decorate their snowman. And then at the bottom of the page, guys, do you see this little circle with the plus sign in it? They can click here. Okay. And it's mad at me about something here, but we could go in and put a lined page in. Okay. It could be a portrait lined page. We could add that to the bottom of this activity, and then it can become a writing activity. So after you've decorated your snowman or you've built your snowman, go ahead and describe it. Let's create a descriptive paragraph about her or about him, right? So lots of possibilities for fun, but also for, curricular stuff as well. All right. So definitely take a peek at the Kami library because it's got fun stuff like that, but then it's also got curricularly based things as well. Like in our interactive activities, there are cell diagrams. There are world maps where kids can drag continent names around and all of that. There's a ton of stuff in here. So it's definitely my suggestion that you do some searching. You can always search over here as well. If you're looking for like a Venn diagram, for example, type in Venn and you'll find it. Okay. So you can always, take a peek through here. Friends, if you find something you want to use, you can click right here. This is a little bookmark, okay? And when you click that, well, it wants me to sign in right now, and I'm not going to worry about doing that. But typically you would be signed in, except, when you're presenting, and then Murphy's Law kind of pops in. But what it'll do is allow you to put it into different collections, okay? And so collections are basically like containers or folders, if you will, okay? So that way you can always get back to the activity you were looking for. If you fall down the rabbit hole that is the Kami library, you can get back. Okay. So I'm going to close out of some of my tabs again, guys. And then one of the last things I'm going to show you are 2 additional utilities or tools that are built into Kami for you. Okay. Let me go back to my free version actually here and just show you what you would see here. Okay. So we've talked about opening files. We've talked about creating a new Kami page, but then there's also 2 more utilities down here. The first is text recognition. What is text recognition? It's OCR. So if you've ever heard of OCR, it stands for optical character recognition. What on earth does that mean, right? Here's what it means. Have you ever taken a picture, like with your phone or digital camera, of text? And when you do, it doesn't work. Things like the highlighters don't work on top of it, or if you're in a program that reads aloud, it won't let you read it aloud, things like that. If you run text recognition, it will stop it from being a picture of text, and instead it will become interactive text. Okay. So sometimes my son uses Kami for high school, and when he does, he has a hard time interacting with some of the worksheets that his teachers will put into his assignments. Okay. So I tell him to run the text recognition tool. And when he does that, then all of a sudden the text starts working, and it just becomes less of a picture of text and more of actual text, if that makes sense. Okay. Listen, if that doesn't make sense, I have a video about it, okay, that you guys can click on right here. You can always go and watch it if you're not quite sure what I mean. And in here, I do a better job of explaining it, and I show you kind of the whole text recognition thing. What I want to do, though, right now is show you split and merge. We've got about 5 minutes left, and split and merge might be your new best friend. So I'm going to show you that. It's another little utility that's just built in to Kami, okay? And when we click on it, it takes us to a new screen where it gives us 4 buttons. Guys, what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to either build documents, or it's going to allow you to pull documents apart, okay? So say you want to make a digital packet for kids, or maybe you just have a slideshow and a Google Doc and some other PDFs that you want to combine. You can do that with split and merge. Or if you have a document that's huge and you only want 1 page and you just want to assign 1 page to your kids, you can do that as well. Okay. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to come here to my Google Drive icon. And when I click here, I want to be in forgive me guys, 1 second. I am going to hop over to this browser. Sorry about that. Where I've got some stuff stored. This is a better Google Drive where I've got stuff that I can show you. Hold on 1 second. Let me close out of those. All right. So go into my Google Drive again, to the right one this time. And I'm going to go to a folder where I have a bunch of materials. Here we go. And I have a 50-page document in here. Let me go down and find it. Here we go. All right. Sometimes with your textbook publishers, or you get something from Teachers Pay Teachers, you have a huge document and you really only need page 3, for example. I've loaded this document in, and now I'm going to hit next. And look, guys, this is a whole packet, okay, that came from a textbook. And it comes in and it's on this row right here. what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these pages and I'm going to drag it down to the bottom here. Sorry, I was just throwing my cat off my lap. I'm going to throw that down there. And now look, this is just page 3 of ratios. So I'm over here on the left-hand side where I can give it a file name. And I was able to grab whatever page I want. So if I want to build out like, hey, we're going to do this one, and then we need this one as well, we can do that. Okay. If you don't remember what these pages look like, you can double click on them and see them bigger. Okay. Or there's a set of icons down here. So this one here is the little preview, and it will let you preview it. It would also allow you to rotate these. So if you had a scanned document, some of it was upside down, you can rotate this around. Okay. You could also duplicate a page. So I just pressed this button here and it duplicated the page. So you've got lots of options. This is basically like you take a packet that you have that's like stapled together and you're standing at the copy machine, right? And you take it apart and you get page 3 out and then you make copies of page 3. Well, here we could just have page 3 right here and then it becomes its own file. Now listen, friends, this was a copy when I brought it in. So it didn't mess up your original file from Google Drive or from your computer, just so you know. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's called splitting, right? You're splitting some pages apart. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is, we go back to split and merge, is to build something. Okay. So let me go to my Google Drive right here. And from here, I will go to my plant folder. And let's say that I've got a bunch of different activities. Okay. These can be Google Docs, Word docs, slideshows, PDFs, images, whatever you want. And I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard or Command if you're on a Mac. And I'm just highlighting them. Do you see how when I click on each one, it's kind of turning blue here? I'm just highlighting many files. And then watch, I hit select down here. And they're loading in. So now they've all loaded up in this split and merge environment. And I'm going to hit next right now. And then look, do you see how each file came in on its own row? So now look, what I can do is drag them up together. Okay. And say, hey, I want to put this one here. And then let's do this one at the end. And then I want to put this one here in the middle. Okay. If I wanted to add more to this, maybe I wanted a reflection activity at the end, I could go to this plus sign in the bottom right corner and go here. All right. And I can type in reflection, go looking for one of my files here. Here we go. And we'll hit select. And then it'll bring that in as well. And I can go, hey, put that one here at the end. Right. So guys, this is your way of being able to build a packet or build a PDF. And then what you're going to do is just hit export right here. And you can either download it to your computer, or you could push it straight into Cami, or you could save it into one of your cloud storage areas, whether you're a Google person or a OneDrive person. Okay. So listen, this has been about 45 minutes of me talking, right? And it's a lot. That's why on this page that I shared with you initially, I made sure to throw in some links to some videos here where you can circle back and watch. Okay. Also, my name is here at the bottom with my email address. You can always email and I'll answer questions that way as well. Okay. So I am going to kind of deliberately stop at this point and definitely take questions if people have them.
Cami is an awesome resource. I know I popped in the chat a couple times. I'm like, I'm going to be using that because sometimes like merging files and PDFs can be very, very tricky.
It can be. I remember I used to download little programs that would, like back in the day, and then it would be like adware or something on there, like when you were trying to manage PDFs a while back, and it was always kind of tricky. So
it is. And I know that, you know, that we have like an Adobe subscription, and I know a number of schools do as well. And so you can do that with like, you know, Adobe Acrobat, but it's not super intuitive and it's kind of hard to figure out. And if you're not super familiar with it,
it's like a big program. Yeah.
It's a very powerful program, but man, like Cami has so many cool features to be able to do collaboration, create digital resources. I even put in the chat, like, if you are trying to go more digital with your classroom and you have a whole binder of worksheets, like paper worksheets that you usually use with students that don't have digital copies, like you've got them from teachers throughout the years and they only exist in this one original format, you can scan them in, create them as PDFs, and then upload them into Kami to immediately digitize all of your PDFs, which is incredible.
Yeah, that's what I do it all the time with my son's stuff. Like if he does bring a paper worksheet home, his paper in his backpack often gets crumpled. He's kind of a disorganized mess. So I love to take a picture of it and then, and then bring it in and let it be digital. Once it's digital, then you can keyword search for it. You've got all sorts of options for being able to kind of help that organization along, which is something a lot of students need. So
it's very true. Well, I see no questions in the chat, so just a couple pieces of housekeeping before we finish. First, just a giant thank you to Avra and Kami for being here today. This was super informative, and it was awesome to be able to get in and collaborate with people in the workshop and just see Kami in action and see all the free tools that it offers. Everything that we showed today was free, so for those of you looking to integrate Kami into your workflow, you can go create an account through Kami, get the Google extension, and you will have access to all of these free features. Now, I know that we, said if your school has a Kami account, you might want to check with your IT team or your tech people and just ask, hey, do we subscribe to a Kami account? Because if you do, there's a ton of other resources and tools that are available through the Kami Pro account. But everything we showed today was absolutely free. Otherwise, if you're interested in joining us in the future for other LTC webinars, you can visit ltc.site/webinars, pretty simple, and check out what we have coming up because we have all kinds of cool workshops and tools. I'll actually just put that in the chat. We actually have all kinds of webinars about how to use different tools and how to use EdTech, and we'd love to see you again. So without any further ado, I think there are no more questions, but thank you all so much for being here. We love to have educators on our webinars. And Avra, thank you so much for being here. It was lovely to have you as part of LTC's offerings.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for participating and asking great questions and great comments. Have a wonderful night and a great Thanksgiving.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a great night. See ya.